This is KTN Friday Briefing with Betty Kialo.
Kenyan stolen child found in South Sudan.
Watoto wetu wakienda mahali wanaenda angukia kwa majaribu.
Na katika eneo hili imekuwa ni changamoto kubwa sana kwa mtoto msichana kwa sababu ya hali ya utamaduni na hali ya maisha ngumu kule nyumbani.
8 more girls get pregnant at a Mount Elgon school a year after 19 others had babies.
Lakini ikiwa mimi nitajipiga kifua, bunge ijipige kifua, judiciary wajipige kifua, waseme sisi tulisemekana tuko independent, kwani ni kila mtu sasa aende atengeneze nchi yake au itakuwa na mwananchi ataenda wapi?
President Uhuru joins parliament in bashing judiciary over governor's case.
What's wrong in Ababu going around the country with us?
Dr. Agnes Zani in the cold as Coast team decides to support Ababu Namwamba. It's a great Friday here on KTN. Thank you for joining us on Friday Briefing. Always a pleasure having your company. Our team has been on the ground throughout the day, preparing a comprehensive news coverage that will begin in a few seconds. And you know, because it's Friday, we have our exceptional and unmatched segments of the guest anchor and Mind Your Language. And our guest anchors tonight are Janet Wanja and Jane Washu. They are the faces of our amazing volleyball team. Many like to refer to them as the queens of volleyball. Hi guys, great to see you. Welcome to KTN Friday Briefing.
Thank you.
You look good.
Thank you.
How do you keep fit?
Too much training, I guess. Yeah.
Well, qualifiers, you're doing so us so proud. Zimekuaje qualifiers? And are you excited to be on Friday Briefing?
Of course. Yeah, I'm so excited, but a little bit nervous.
Really? You don't look nervous?
I am.
I like your hairstyle. I wish I could do a bit of that, but seriously. Washu, are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited, but kawoga kiasi kukuja hivi kwa show.
Usijali tumewazoea kuona hivi. Alright guys, we'll be getting to you in a short while. Enjoy the bulletin and thank you for coming. Alright.
Okay, thank you.
Well, they will be joining us in a short while. And also remember that Willis, the word master, is also on standby, and he will also be joining us for tonight's pronunciation lesson. But for now, of course, let's begin with our top stories tonight. Now, officials from the Children's Department and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs today welcomed back a 5-month-old child who was kidnapped and smuggled into South Sudan. Baby Marwa Munene was rescued from a Kenyan woman who was reportedly ferrying him to a client who had placed an order for a baby.
Early morning and a delegation gathered at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, waiting for a special delivery. Baby Marwa Munene would be returning today from South Sudan. Officials who received him held him close, afraid to let go of him. This owing to the fact that baby Marwa left the country under no ordinary circumstances. He was allegedly kidnapped and smuggled into South Sudan by a Kenyan woman in her 50s. The woman, identified as Helen Siokau from Makueni, allegedly boarded a bus headed to Juba last October with a 6-day-old baby in tow. As the journey progressed, she aroused the suspicion of the other passengers.
The passengers who were traveling in the bus got suspicious because the baby cried all the way from Nairobi to Nimle, that is Uganda, Sudan border, South Sudan border. And on inquiry, they realized that the lady carrying the kid was not the mother.
This child was in a bus called Simba bus, which was going to Southern Sudan. Now, reports were made to the embassy to the concern of a small child with a woman who is not even giving the breast milk.
The passengers alerted authorities in South Sudan, and the lady was arrested on arrival and the baby taken from her. South Sudanese authorities later arrested 2 accomplices, one a Kenyan man and the other a South Sudanese woman who reportedly placed the order for the child. All 3 were arraigned in court.
The Kenyan suspect is in custody. He was sentenced to imprisonment in South Sudan. And the 2 other suspects, of course, the due process went through the court and they were fined.
Authorities had initially named the baby Lucky Juba for his good fortune and his destination. They later settled on the name Marwa Munene. The baby is headed to a children's home under the supervision of the Children's Department. Kenyan and South Sudanese authorities have already begun investigations to trace his parents using information retrieved from the suspect's mobile telephone. In the meantime, officers from the Children's Department provide a cuddle and reassurance that until his parents are found, baby Marwa is safe with them. Wilkiston Abwa, KTN.
Now, 9 months after 19 underage girls at a school in Mount Elgon were reported pregnant by KTN, 8 more girls between the ages of 12 and 15 have been found pregnant again at the same school. KTN's Joy Doreen Bera reports on the dilemma of parents of the Chep Kurkur Primary School.
It is at Chep Kurkur Primary School in the Mount Elgon region in Bungoma County that 18 girls fell pregnant approximately 9 months ago. Today, 8 more minors aged between 12 and 15 are expecting, and another 4 between 15 and 16 have been married off to already polygamous families. Their parents have been left defenseless.
Tukijaribu kuwatuma, nafikiri nimetuma mtoto vizuri, kumbe mtoto anaenda kutana na mnyama ambaye anamula tena.
Imekuwa ni changamoto kubwa sana kwa mtoto msichana kwa sababu ya hali ya utamaduni na hali ya maisha ngumu kule nyumbani.
Part of the story is that their parents could not afford to pay their school fees, averaging 1,500 shillings per pupil.
Mimi ndakuoa lakini utapaka nyumbani. Mimi nimaliza shule. Na sasa kama vile tunaenda kwa jirani, hao wafulana wao wanasimama huko kwa njia. Walevi hata wasee hata wanaweza kukushika.
The Bungoma County Women Representative is now spearheading the construction of a rescue center for such girls.
Ni lazima tujenge shule hii isaidie mtoto mvulana na hasa mtoto msichana asome akamilishe shule.
The nation reacted with shock when the first story of the mass pregnancies at the school broke out last year. This latest incident is expected to get the entire nation talking once again. Joy Doreen Bera, KTN Friday Briefing.
Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has advised governors who have been summoned by the Senate to appear before the relevant committee and answer questions on financial management of devolved funds. The head of state said the 3 arms of government, the executive, legislature and judiciary, were interdependent and one arm should not prevent the other from doing its business. Uhuru's support for the legislators came even after the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution called on the President and the heads of Parliament and the judiciary to urgently consult and resolve their conflicts urgently. That story will be coming in just a short while. Still in the news, and now to where it all began, the Embu Council of Elders, commonly known as Nyangi Ndiriri, has moved to mediate on the impeachment of Embu Governor Martin Wambora. Addressing the press in Embu town this afternoon, the elders said they have convened a crisis meeting slated for March 1st, where all the issues which led to the current situation will be addressed through their chairman, Andrew Ireri Njeru. Now, the elders said they have invited the Embu senator, all the 4 MPs from the area, members of the county assembly, and religious leaders and all professionals to a meeting to thrash out the issue.
Tungetaka kwanza tuje tujadiliane, kaunti yetu ni ndogo, tungetaka uongozi ambao unatambua yule mwingine kama ndugu, tujue ubaya uko wapi. Sisi atulide yule ambaye amekosa. Hiyo sio njia yetu. Yetu ni kwamba kama kuna kosa, mmoja wetu au amekosa, lazima makosa yake ionekane vizuri, hata mawaidha yenyewe ionekane inatolewa pale, na si ati kusema huyu amekosa tukimbilie nje ya Kenya ndipo tutupe mmoja wetu. Hiyo italeta shinda kwenye uongozi wetu.
Now, still on the standoff over governors, constitutional lawyers have warned that complete disregard of court orders by Parliament would be a recipe for chaos and a threat to the rule of law. Legal experts now urge the President, the Chief Justice and Speakers of the Senate and National Assembly to urgently convene a constitutional conference to interpret the law of a separation of powers.
It is natural that they will jostle for supremacy.
The standoff triggered by court orders against Senate summonses on governors has reignited the debate on which arm of the government has the power to stop the actions of the other and whether the governors should heed orders issued by the Senate. Article 125 of the Constitution gives either House of Parliament and any of its committees power to summon any person to appear before it for the purpose of giving evidence. In exercising that mandate, Parliament and any of its committees enjoy the same powers as the High Court. The question is whether the High Court was interfering with the Senate by blocking senators from grilling governors.
It's very critical for governors to have an institution which checks their excesses, especially when it comes to expenditures. But remember, it is within their constitutional right to go to court and challenge whatever decision, whatever process has been initiated by any other person.
The Senate thinks that they're equivalent to the judiciary. No. It is limited to the ability to summon anybody, and anybody includes the President. Remember that the oversight role involves very powerful people in the executive. Therefore, to be able to get there, you must have that strong power. Now, when the High Court stops them from exercising that role, we are creating a conflict.
Article 96 of the Constitution gives power to the Senate to determine the allocation of national revenue among counties and exercise oversight over national revenue allocated to the county governments. But governors insist the Senate has no power to summon governors or members of the county's executive on matters of financial management. Governors argue that oversight role should be exercised by respective county assemblies.
The individual county assemblies, their oversight role is limited to the residents of those counties. But to the extent that the governors are handling money from the people of Kenya, the organ that we elected to look at that is the Senate.
Standing in solidarity with the Senate, members of the National Assembly said the judiciary was overstepping its mandate by issuing orders which were not in line with the tenets of separation of powers. Some officers of the judiciary were accused of engaging in judicial activism.
This is a new judiciary where the judges are thoroughly independent. They have made numerous orders against the President. It is not that they are being activists. They are actually being thoroughly independent.
Judicial activism is very critical, especially when it comes to implementation of a new constitution. That is key. However, extreme judicial activism may be very dangerous for probably a newly established constitutional order.
In a move to flex their muscles, members of the National Assembly unanimously agreed that the allocation to the judiciary be slashed. The Senate said it will comply with the court orders, but then postpone discussions on key finance bills that will allow movement of cash to county governments. Senators also warned they could initiate measures to close down some counties. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
To ODM election matters now, and coastal ODM leaders have bypassed Dr. Agnes Zani to support rival Ababu Namwamba for the Secretary General position. The region has produced a lineup that excludes the nominated senator, despite the region putting up a show of unity just a week ago. Samogena has the details.
They staged a unity walk just a week ago, a conglomeration of the coastal leaders displaying unity of purpose. But times have changed, and the coast may be tasking its delegates to vote out Dr. Agnes Zani in the forthcoming ODM Delegates Convention. The region has drawn up a lineup of its preferred candidates, and Budalangi MP Ababu Namwamba has boxed out Zani for the Secretary General's position support from the region.
Now, I don't think we are giving him unfair advantage over Dr. Zani, because Dr. Zani is also going around the country, right? So if she's going around the country, what's wrong in Ababu going around the country with us?
The Coast leadership will pitch before its delegates to support the list at the party polls. The list has Turkana Governor Josephat Nanoka as chair, Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho, the deputy party leader, Ababu, the Secretary General, Rosa Buyu, the organizing secretary, and Simon Ogari as treasurer.
This is a team that has decided to go together to form a group which it believes will be able to deliver the objects or the objectives of the party.
Ababu's endorsement comes after a series of meetings with the coastal negotiating team. The latest meeting that struck the deal that might deny Zani votes from her own backyard was held on Thursday night in Nairobi. Zani, who is aligned to the Polo Toma team, perceived the party's favorites. The team was opposed to the party's Kanu-style expansion of seats to accommodate would-be losers. A rebellion against rewarding those to lose in their respective positions as deputies to victors. ODM invoked Kanu's strategy employed in 2001 when Raila Odinga joined the party as third national vice chairman.
The merger of Kanu, a party of government since independence, with the NDP, a proactive and pragmatic party of opposition, presents us with an opportunity to serve Kenyans better.
On the same breath, ODM set 9 extra deputy seats, pushing the number of seats from 26 to 35. Samugina, KTN.
Now, a section of elders from Bomet County have told off Deputy President William Ruto over what they call attempts to undermine the Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto. Well, this comes after a group of members of the Bomet County Assembly came out yesterday to dismiss the governor's defense of his usage of county funds. Catherine Omanto reports.
Tuesday's Auditor General's report about Bomet County is the latest trigger of the simmering political war pitting allies of Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto against the Deputy President William Ruto. After the governor defended his use of the county cash, saying that the County Assembly was behind him, a section of the County Assembly members came out to dismiss him.
We still want to challenge the county government of Bomet, led by the governor, that if we approved, let him produce the Hansard, which captured all the members passing approving the said overdraft. Number 2, let him produce the order paper.
The members added that an overdraft of the county accounts is against the law and that the 36.5 million shillings cannot be accounted for.
We cannot act in contravention to the Public Finance Management Act, which says very clearly that any county account or any government account cannot be overdrawn until it is negative.
And now allies of the governor are accusing the deputy president of fueling this kind of criticism against the Bomet governor. The elders are warning William Ruto to stop undermining their governor.
We are fully behind Governor Ruto, and any attempt to dismiss his character could not bear any fruit, as the people can see through this study scheme.
Awachana na mambo ya fitina ya kusengenya gavana wetu Isaac Ruto ambaye tunapenda. Tumeona kazi yake, tumeona maendeleo.
Governor Isaac Ruto was among 9 governors who were earlier summoned by the Senate to explain financial discrepancies in county expenditure. However, that was thwarted by a court order that barred the Senate from summoning the 9, setting off a supremacy battle between Parliament and governors. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
Well, let us now cross over live to our senior coast reporter Ferdinand Omondi to bring us up to speed with the latest in the Masjid Musa case. Ferdinand, what's the state of the missing suspects in that case?
Good evening, Betty. Now, the High Court today has ordered that Inspector Evans Wasonga and Constable Wino Okuta, 2 policemen who gave statements that the suspect who was arrested on the 2nd of February and now is considered missing, that may have escaped from their custody. So he wants them to appear on Wednesday next week to be cross-examined. Wasonga's affidavit actually confirmed that the suspect, Hamed Salim Hamed, was arrested on 2nd February along with 128 others at the Masjid Musa Mosque in a raid on what the police had described as a jihadist convention. But it goes on to suggest that the suspect may have escaped along with others while on their way to Makupa police station. Wasonga was depending on a written statement by Constable Okutas, which also said or confirmed that he is indeed the arresting officer who has been pictured in some of the evidence produced before court in terms of photographs, and says that he actually handcuffed the suspect while subduing him and took him away to court.
The subject of habeas corpus, or that has claimed in this case that he is not in its physical custody. A statement by the police officer who surmises that the subject may have escaped is not made on oath, despite the grave movement of the application for the enforcement of fundamental rights to life and liberty in the petitions. I consider that the deponent of the replying affidavit for the respondents, Inspector Evans Wesonga, and the author of the handwritten and sworn statement relied on by the deponent, Police Constable Owino Okuta, are likely to assist the court in arriving at a conclusive decision whether the said Hamed Salim Hamed is in the physical custody of the police or not.
Well, the judge dismissed those statements by the two policemen as speculative and wants them to be cross-examined so that they can determine the next course of action. Well, Betty, the family lawyers also wanted the County Commander Robert Kitur and the Inspector General of Police to be summoned along with the Interior Cabinet Secretary Joseph Olelenku, but the judge said that should the testimonies on Wednesdays require them to be summoned in the will, but at the moment he had put that request on hold. Betty.
Thank you very much, Ferdinand Omoni, for that update. Of course, keep us updated on any latest developments. Right, so it's time to take a short commercial break. Don't go away. Our favorite segment is up next. The guest anchor with our volleyball queens, Janet Uwanja and Jane Washu, will be joining me in just a short while. You don't want to miss that. Stay tuned.
Should a man ask for permission to marry a second wife? Kenyans react.
Welcome back to KTN Friday Briefing. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has advised governors who have been summoned by the Senate to appear before the relevant committee and answer questions on financial management of devolved funds. The head of state said the three arms of government, the executive, legislature, and judiciary, were interdependent, and one arm should not prevent the other from doing its business. Uhuru's support for the legislators came even after the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution called on the President and the heads of Parliament and judiciary to urgently consult and resolve their conflicts urgently.
The President has waded into the standoff between Parliament and the judiciary over the latest court orders that slowed down the Senate's war with county governors. Speaking at Belgut Women's Group Annual General Meeting in Kericho, President Uhuru weighed in on the side of the legislators, telling the judiciary to give the other two arms of government space.
Hakuna faida ya governor you are not a law unto yourself. Even me as the president, I am not a law unto myself. I am accountable to the National Assembly. I must be accountable. Everybody must be accountable. Because how else will we establish transparency in this country?
The judiciary has not attempted even once to defend their orders stopping the Senate Committee on Finance from grilling the governors, or the orders stopping the Senate from debating the impeachment of Embu Governor Martin Wambora last week. But the executive and the legislature are pouring out their displeasure.
The principle of separation of powers is guaranteed by our Constitution. But separation of powers does not mean we are independent countries. We are three arms of the same government. The one government whose objective is to serve 40 million Kenyans. One arm should not prevent another from doing its business. And when necessary, we must consult and move the country forward together.
Members of the Senate and National Assembly will be holding a Speaker's Kamkunji on Tuesday next week to strategize on how to deal with the judiciary and the governors.
Majaji wote waheshimu kazi yao na watuheshimu. Otherwise tutaibishana bure.
Indeed, they have threatened to reduce funding for the judiciary and county governments. But even as the president supported the MPs, the Commission on the Implementation of the Constitution has warned the executive and the legislature against disobedience of court orders.
The effect would be that there would be no judicial authority and the people of Kenya would be left with no recourse for any injustice suffered from the arbitrary exercise of power and would have to resort to self-help measures, including violence and conflict.
Lawmakers have threatened to change the law on vetting of judicial officers so that those recently recruited go through vetting.
Provisions for the appointment of new judges is provided for in the Constitution. The provision for the disciplinary process is also provided for. That process does not involve Parliament vetting new judges.
As CIC, we have separately called on His Excellency the President and the heads of Parliament and the judiciary to seek urgent means of consulting and resolving any issues that may render the operations of these institutions ineffective and prejudice the rule of law.
The Nyachai Commission says, wait a minute. The commissioners warned that stopping funding to counties without applying legal procedures would be blatantly unconstitutional and an abuse of office. Noah Otieno, KTN, Friday Briefing.
And that story leads us to our big question tonight, and we are asking, is it right for the president to support the MPs against the judiciary? Is it right for the president to support the MPs against the judiciary? The number is, of course, 22155, 22155. You can tweet me at Betty Kyalo or at KTN Kenya, or you can also interact with us with the hashtag Friday Briefing, and we'll be able to sample your views during this newscast. Right, so because it's Friday, we have one of our favorite segments here at KTN. And of course, let's start with our guest anchor segment. And joining me in studio is some very lovely ladies, as you can see. You guys look great. Mnakapoa sana.
Thanks.
Oh, it's like you're twins. Okay, so let me first introduce them. To my immediate right is Jane Washu and Janet Wanja.
Apana, ume confused.
No, sija confused.
Ni Janet Wanja na Jane Washu.
Apana.
Yes.
No, Wongo.
Jane Wanja na Janet Washu.
No, I'm very sure. This is Washu and this is Wanja. I'm very sure.
You're right.
Yeah,
you're
I'm
right.
Yeah. Oh, thank God. You guys look at mnafanana. Mnambonga hivyo sana?
Sana. Yeah.
Actually, it's like twins.
Yes, only tutauliza mtu.
Mnafaa kuuliza, mnafaa kuchunguza. Yeah. So you guys have been so busy, qualifiers. How are they? Because you've done such an amazing job. They've not been beaten throughout the World Cup qualifiers. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. How has it been?
It's been tough. It's amazing how African teams are improving.
Yes.
Like every year. For example, like Senegal.
Yes.
They were able to take a set from us. So, yeah, it's been really tough.
And Washu, how do you keep fit? Yani ni gym mnaendanga ama ni everyday training? How are you able to keep fit and be able to, play every single day sometimes?
Yetu, I think ni natural. Because gym ni kiasi ile kufanya nguvu kakam. Na training ni kawaida, nika kila siku si utrain.
Kila siku.
So you do it natufanya to keep fit na tusiadd weight.
Na msiadd weight. Yeah. Wow, it's really nice. But then vile mmekuja, there has been a lot of excitement, especially on social media. Is it because of the game or is it because you guys are, dashing?
I think it's because of the game.
Yeah.
But mostly
And this goes for men. The uniform.
Oh, they like the uniform.
Yes.
Yeah, no matter when I said you guys are coming, watu wengi walikuwa wanasema I hope wamevaa uniform. And I'm sure you are comfortable nayo.
Yes, kwa comfortable nayo because nimezoea tu nikiwa field. Kusimama kwa studio nayo hivi mzazi pia anashangaa hey huyu ako uchi kwa studio.
But usijali tumewazoea hivi kwa hivyo kwetu sisi ni kawaida. Lakini how has it been for you guys? Sports female personalities na mnafanya poa sana. How has the journey been for you guys?
It's not been easy, especially kwa sababu like unajua sisi tuna problem ya training venues nini, but yeah, ile kujitolea, no, ile passion, the love of the game, unajua unaendure a lot of things, alafu discipline, unajua that comes first in everything, not only in sports. So yeah, discipline na pia you put God first in everything you do, na kila kitu inakuwa rahisi.
Washu, highlight ya career yako imekuwa nini all through? What has been your best highlight since you started?
Kila kitu imekuwa tu ikienda poa. Nilianza tu vizuri na kujoin team. Na sasa ni kungangana tu.
Kungangana. All right, so ni anchors wetu wa leo. I'm sure umekuwa mkiwatch. Which one have you watched on KTN Friday briefing?
Kanda King
and
the Sun.
Yeah. And how do you fare? How do you rate them? Walifanya vizuri ama?
Walifanya poa. It's not easy. Nafikiria hata nilikuwa namueleza tukiwa pale chini. Hao watu wana kazi ngumu sana.
Umeifikiria kuchange career kufanya something different apart from volleyball?
Washu mimi naweza toka tu kwa sports.
Sasa there have been so many rumors and reports that you guys are very wild, that you're wild girls. Yani mnapenda kuparty and I don't know, maybe mnaweza tuambie ukweli leo. Washu,
kuparty ni ile tuseme kama games zimeisha uko kwa free time yako. Mtu kama mimi najisema pangu maybe tubashe kwa hao. But si ile ati kukunywa ati throughout hivyo juu mwana sporti ukikunywa tu sana inakulemea kisports. So ni ile tu kupati kiasi tu.
Kiasi.
Ile kawaida.
Wanjani kweli upati?
I'm a party animal.
Oh. There we go.
Mimi napenda kupati sana but ni ile time free. Because sisi unajua season yetu it's not like in Europe. Unajua in Europe wanaenda season yao it's like 4 months. But yetu we start from January till December. But tuko na ile period kidogo ya kurest. So ukipata time kidogo you party all day long mpaka siku yenye utarudi kwa uwanja. Yes, but it's not that every volleyballer is a party animal like me na Washu. Kuna wale hawatumii anything gauge nini. Yeah, so I think ni vile mtu mwenyewe anataka ya lifestyle ya mtu. Because ukiangalia mimi na Washu lifestyle yetu it's almost the same, lakini ukienda kwa wengine it's a bit different.
Okay. Wow, tutaendelea na conversation, but for now kazi yenu iko pale hivyo. Unaona hii come to camera 2. This is tunataka introduce your story na passion. Vile mna play volleyball pale kwa pitch, the same thing tunataka. Kwa hivyo mtaji-introduce alafu mu-introduce story. Sawa? Mtaagree nani anaanza?
Anaanza.
Okay, Jane Washua Irimo kutoka Nyeri na nacheza volleyball kama setter na naweza wasomea. A cross section of Kenyans who have been following keenly the debate on the marriage bill have made some very interesting observations on the proposed law.
Some told KTN that there is no way a man would ever ask his first wife for permission to marry a second wife. KTN, Ian Wafula reports.
For better or for worse, the very words that unite men and women during marriage and a lifetime. Members of parliament across the political divide are united in their support for the marriage bill currently at the debate stage in the National Assembly.
It's giving us choices. I support the bill.
The bill allows room for polygamous marriage, but on condition that a man seek permission for a second marriage from his first wife. The marriage shall only be customary.
which recognizes, Madam Speaker, which can give potential rise to polygamous unions, Madam Speaker. Those who want monogamous like myself, leave me with my husband alone.
Definitely, I don't think there is anyone who can be able to give that type of consent, Madam Speaker.
Kenyans are watching the debate with keen interest, as this is the one bill whose impact could sweep across many living arrangements across the country.
Mambo ya kuuliza mke bwana, wewe na uwezo wako bwana.
Hata mimi basi naweza pata wanaume wengine.
Sio lazima uulize bibi yako. Kwa hivyo ukiona mwingine, nenda uoe.
Mimi sitaki hizo mambo za other women in kwa ndoa.
The bill proposes to put a tight curfew on when marriages can be done and celebrated.
This bill has given suggestions as to the time. Instead of having marriages at midnight and others happening at anywhere in this world, Madam Speaker, the time has been set out, and of course the place which must be registered, and of course a minister who is supposed to solemnize the marriages has been indicated.
Even as discussions on the marriage bill continue, questions still remain as to just how many women will let their spouses get married to a second, third, or even 10th wife. Only time will tell once and if the bill is assented into law. Ian Ofula, KTN.
So how do you think you fared? I think umefanya vizuri. Washu, umefilaje?
Hapana. Sitaki tena.
What do you mean?
Ni ngumu.
Nini ngumu kusoma? Si ni kusoma tu ile
kawaida. Ni ngumu hivyo ku address public.
Ku address public. Unajua kwanza there are millions of them. Wanja experience unaona quit volleyball unaweza kuja kwa anchor.
No, siwezi quit volleyball but naweza fanya hii part time. Because naona kama part time because naona kama ni rahisi. The only problem nitakuwa nayo ni kusoma. Kusonangi.
Maybe buy specs or something.
Apana, spendi.
Sasa, are you guys dating? A couple of people wanauliza, are you dating? Washu?
I'm single.
Single?
Engaged.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Hey, but tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm getting married in May.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I was engaged in December.
Wow, that's nice. So who's the lucky man?
His name is Andy. Yeah, he's from the UK.
Wow. Congratulations. I hope Shafalika Rusi. Kwa hivyo Wanja is off the market.
The market.
Washu is still in the market. Someone was asking. Yes. So can you advise young girls who want to get into this sport Is it ni rahisi? What do they need to do?
Like I said before, discipline comes first. Na pia hakuna kitu rahisi kwa life and I'm not talking about volleyball only. Unajua kuna ule anakuangalia wewe saizi anasema naweza taka kwa kama Betty. So ile kupenda ile kitu yenye unataka kufanya I think inakufikisha hapo but never forget that lazima uweke God first. Yeah.
Washu, advice kwa young girls watching you, they want to be like you, volleyball players, setters.
Mimi venye naweza waambia hakuna kitu ngumu. Kila kitu ni possible kwa God. Na hata wenye wako mashambani, wenye wako mtaani, wenye wana lose hope kama mimi ni born ghetto. So naweza wapatia example na mimi. So kama wenye especially wenye hawajasoma ka form 4 kupatikana ni ngumu. So wajitokeze tu watutafute kwa FB wapi. Tutawachapa intro kwa nini? Kwa team, kwa coach na watatujoin.
All right, sawa. So we'll continue with the conversation, but Janet, I want you to introduce our business anchor. The camera is too.
What's his name? Her name again? Oh, okay. Edith Kimani, how are you?
Hi, how are you? How did you feel being the guest anchor this evening?
It felt great, but I was a little bit nervous.
Well, no need to be nervous. I think you did great, and don't worry about your eyesight. Even Betty is blind. She's just lying. She's just lying to all of us.
I don't think so.
Well, let's have a look at the business, and we'll get back to the guest anchors this evening. We'll be talking about book publisher Longhorn. They are eyeing further acquisition this year, and we have all the details after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome to the business. I'm Edith Kimani. Book publisher Longhorn is eyeing further acquisition this year following growth in profitability. During the first 6 months ended December, Longhorn posted 30.1 million shillings in net profit compared to 16.9 million shillings a year earlier. Now, growth was driven by a 6.2% growth in revenue to 560 million shillings, boosted by sales in new markets. Longhorn currently serves Uganda, Malawi, Tanzania, and Rwanda markets, and is looking to grow this as sales in Kenya slow down following the government's enactment of a value-added tax that has affected sales. To grow the business further, the publisher is looking at a mix of acquisitions and consolidations in its markets. The government's plan to introduce learning has also offered an avenue for growth, especially in electronic publishing as part of its diversification plan. Last October, Longhorn acquired books owned by iconic publisher Malkiat Singh, who for over 30 years specialized in school books. The insurance regulator has been issued with a challenge to increase the penetration of insurance in the country. At a penetration rate of just 3%, Kenya's insurance industry ranks as one of the slowest growing in the continent. And now the government is talking tough, threatening to take action against the insurance regulatory authority. Philip Keitani with the details.
The insurance industry. And I think we are going to make it part of the performance contract of the regulator to tell us why we cannot double, if not triple, the penetration of insurance in this country in the next 5 years.
This was the stand challenge issued by the Deputy President in a bid to get ideal insurance product that appeal to Kenyans. The low penetration of insurance has over the years been attributed to several factors, among them a low saving culture and a low level of disposable income for the majority of the population. With varied competing needs, it's no wonder insurance takes a back burner in most household budgets. According to an insurance industry report released in March 2013, gross written insurance premiums amounted to 36.4 billion shillings by the end of the first quarter of 2013, a 16.7% increase from the 31.2 billion shillings over the same period in 2012. The premium income reported under life insurance was 10.9 billion shillings, while general business premiums were 25.5 billion shillings. While the figure seems impressive at the face value, a deeper analysis indicates that insurance companies bleed out almost as much as they reckon.
We want to make sure that together with the county government, we do not, lose sight of the momentum that has been built over time.
Despite its low penetration, Kenya is one of the largest insurance markets in Africa, with over 40 insurance companies, 4 insurance companies, 200 insurance brokers, 250 service providers, and about 4,000 insurance agents.
This industry has suffered largely because of poor management, but also because of the so-called ambulance chasers and these other people in between here, the wheeler dealers and fake claims.
They were speaking during the opening of the CIC's new 800 million shillings headquarters in Upper Hill. CIC has announced plans to expand to Southern Sudan, Uganda, and Malawi in the current financial year. Philip Keitani, KTN Business.
And the last business story this week, the KCB Group will now open an investment banking arm following the approval by the Capital Markets Authority. KCB Capital will offer advisory services on public offering of securities, corporate financial restructuring, takeovers, mergers, acquisitions, and privatization, corporate financing options, including issuance of equity or debt securities and loan syndication, as well as engaging in business of stockbroker and dealer, promoting or issuance of securities, providing investment advisory services. The approval brings the number of investment advisors authorized by the Capital Markets Authority to 11. In August 2013, the Nairobi Securities Exchange admitted Equity Investment Bank and CBA Capital after being licensed by CMA in 2008 and 2003, respectively. Let's see how your money performed at the close of business today in the Financial Markets Review. Nicholas Budimba is standing by with the day's sports. But first, let me take you back to Betty Kialo, or Betty Kialo, as she likes to be called, in a deep voice, to do a recap of the top story.
Edith, you're so crazy, but I forgive you. See you in a short while.
All right, have a good weekend, everyone.
All right, let's have our recap of our top story tonight. And officials from the Children's Department and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs today welcomed back a 5-month-old child who was kidnapped and smuggled into South Sudan. Baby Marwa Munene was rescued from a Kenyan woman who was reportedly ferrying him to a client who had placed an order for a baby. A great reunion that is. Now, parents have been urged to take their parental responsibilities seriously, especially when it comes to what their children watch on TV. While speaking during the launch of the book Foreign TV Shows and Kenyan Youth at Riara University in Nairobi, former PS Joyce Nyamoya said foreign television shows are the reason behind the radical change of behavior among Kenyan youth. She said it was high time for Kenyan youth to promote culture and stopped aping all that they watch.
It seems that today's youth would rather identify with a foreign culture than they'd rather identify themselves with a foreign culture as opposed to local culture and identifying with their roots. This has actually become a real problem.
TV, and I want to echo what the young students said about the sagging pants, not knowing why. They don't realize film, drama versus the reality of life in those countries in which those films are made.
Today we have very many programs. We do have the Mexican soaps. Yeah. We do have many other local programs. And I think what Professor Nguru has done by publishing this book, Professor Nguru has really challenged us to also write, to also do research.
It's that time that we cross over live to Kisumu County, where Willis, the word master, has tonight's pronunciation lesson. Willis, good evening.
Good evening, Betty. How are you?
I'm great, Willis. Now, Willis, before we start, you have to see this. An impersonator going by the name Quellis, the Sheng master. Take a look at this.
Kuna hii word inaitwa footage. Hii word mazee inafaa iko umechangamkiwa design gani?
Thank you, Betty. Freddie. Allow me to correct you with a ftiach, not footage, not fitiach. Ftiach. There is no intrusive vowel in between f and tiach. So it's ftiach.
Now, Willis, what do you think about that? He's actually studied you from the specs to the words, diphthong and all these things. You're such a big deal when you start getting impersonators.
Well, quite creative, but you know what I've just seen missing there is the stubborn earphone, but quite creative anyway, and quite a thought.
All right, we'll check him out. Probably we'll put you up together to see what can come out of, Sheng and English, combined. All right, let's start with tonight's lesson. And I met a couple of students who are very eager to learn. Do we say Sacred Heart or Sacred Heart?
Oh, Betty, we say sacred, sacred. The word appears to be sacred, but we say sacred, sacred heart. Quite a number of English words are sometimes mistaken in terms of the correct, standard, acceptable, or good pronunciation. So in this case, we say sacred heart.
All right, thank you for that. Let's move on. Do we say we worship the Almighty, or do we say we worship the Almighty?
Well, quite commonly, under what we call the standard, acceptable, or correct pronunciation, we should say were. W-O-R takes the sounding were, worship. But saying worship is not bad. But what we should also remember is we don't say worth. We say worth. Just like we also say worthy, not worthy. We also say work, not walk. And was, not was.
All right, I bet it also goes for warm, not warm.
That is it, Betty. We say warm, not warm. Some even say to the warm. No, the warm. The warm.
All right. I like it when you give us more examples. All right, let's continue. What do you call that container that you use to put flowers? Is it a vase or a vase?
The British English has it as vase. Vase. A long front low vowel R. Vase, not vase or vase, which is used in American English. American English, vase, vase. But when we talk about the English, we talk about here vase of flowers.
All right.
Very tricky.
All right, a vase of flowers. All right, let's move on to some names, people's names actually, that, you know, have varied pronunciations. Is it Anthony or Anthony?
No, we don't say Tony. Anthony, no. The TH is not pronounced like a digraph in that word or in that name. We say Anthony because H is silent. Just like in the name Esther. Esther. We don't say Esther. We also say Thompson, not Thompson. And we have the name Sarah. We don't say Sarah. We say Amos, not Amos. We also have the word or the name Aaron. Aaron, like Aaron Ringera.
All right, I'm sure very many people now will have to now start pronouncing the names correctly. All right, let's move on to a number of other words that have varied pronunciations. Do we say weekend or weekend? And also, do we say cucumber or cucumber?
We say weekend. Weekend. That is the British English phonology. That is, we have a primary stress at the terminal part of that word, end, weekend. But when we talk about American pronunciation, we have the primary stress at the onset. That is the beginning of that word. So we say weekend. But weekend, both can just be used, so long as you can communicate. This is what I always assert or emphasize when it comes to pronunciations.
All right, Willis, what about cucumber? Do we say cucumber or cucumber?
Right at the beginning of that word, we have the primary stress. Cucumber. Cucumber, not cucumber, the way we say it. Cucumber. Yes.
All right, let's move on to another one. Do we say Catholic or Catholic?
Catholic. Catholic. Of course, we have letter O, but by way of elision, that is eliding over that letter O, we say Catholic. Catholic Church. Just like we say chocolate. When we look at the word, we would say chocolate, but that O, the second O, is elided, ignored. So you say chocolate, we also say Catholic.
All right. Willis, is now that time that you give us your surprise word or words.
Well, many people say onion.
Yes, onion.
And this may be a bit controversial, Betty. We say onion. The first O takes the sound A, onion, not onion, which we commonly hear of. We also say oven or oven, not oven, the way we said it locally. So also the word an owl, not the owl, that is bundi. Bundi, an owl, O-W-L. An owl, an oven, and we talk of an onion, not onion.
Wow. Willis, you mean we say oven, not oven? I've been saying that all my life, and I'm sure so many other people have been saying onion, actually, oven. Wow, but tonight we have to change. All right, Willis, let's move on to our feedback. And Sosbita Njoroge is asking, do we say clandestine or clandestine?
Betty, we say clandestine, clandestine, but remember, there are words with alternatives. We also say clandestine, clandestine. But when we say tin at the end of that word, then the stress comes after clan. So we say clandestine, clandestine move.
Clandestine move. All right, at Chelotis is asking, how do we pronounce continuity? Is that the right pronunciation, or there's another correct pronunciation for that word?
We say continue, but continuity is very tricky because after conti, you say nuity, continuity, not continuity.
Continuity.
Very tricky. So stress on nuity, continuity.
Continuity. That's a tough one.
There you are.
I'll look for a synonym and use that instead of continuity. All right, Willis, it has been great having you tonight. Thank you very much for the lesson, and looking forward to seeing you next Friday again.
Okay, we'll meet, and the creative person by the name Quellis and Freddie, just say hi to both of them.
I'll let them know. Thank you very much. Willis, the word master, is coming to us live from Kisumu County with tonight's pronunciation lesson. Hope you've gotten a little bit of that, including continuity. Right, that has been Mind Your Language on Friday Briefing.
Hey Willis, kizungu ilikuja na meli. Tupate Nick Mudimba akitupatia sports news, na hoping ameanza na timu ya warembo volleyball.
Of course, kesho najua you have a crucial match against Tunisia and you have to win. So after this, tafadhali mwende mlale. Kesho you have a crucial match. But tonight on KTN Sports, we have athletes playing for the renovation of a stadium in Eldoret, and of course, more on the previews of tomorrow's matches.
My Scout colors are trooping to Nyeri County.
You are watching KTN.
Mudimba. Athletes from Uasin Gishu County have renewed their calls to the government to live true to its promise to construct a new stadium in the region. The athletes and the county government are also demanding the completion of the repair work on the Kipchoge Stadium in Eldoret, which commenced 3 years ago. The athletes feel that with the onset of the long rains due next month, they'll have nowhere to sharpen their skills. Linwa Shira reports from the home of champions.
The rainy season is a constant reminder to athletes that even as the government plans to tax their earnings, it has not met the end of its bargain, which is to upgrade existing training facilities across the counties. The recently completed, privately owned Lorna Kiplagat Sports Academy in Iten is the only modern track facility outside Kenya's capital, Nairobi. It has been 3 long years since rehabilitation work started at the Kipchoge Keino Stadium, but there's no indication of it being available anytime soon.
If government cannot make a stadium in 4 years, and an individual does it in less than 3 months, so that's a challenge to the government.
The completion of the facility is a riddle no one has been able to solve. Despite being named after one of the country's legendary athletes, the stadium remains deplorable.
I inherited Kipchoge, and I inherited its problems. But as we speak now, we have engaged the auditors. I want to know what went on, why we didn't finish that stadium in good time.
The said standoff between the government and the contractor is, however, not the only concern that has caught the attention of the Uasin Gishu County government.
One of the athletes whispered to me that, the tartan track that was produced already expired. The tartan track was in the port for a year. It has been here for a year. And surely if it has expired, I think those in Ministry of Sports and Public Works, without being an high court charge, I would say they have a case to answer.
I'm not an expert on that, and I think I need to find out the fact on it.
Below standards, Eldoret University grounds, Kapsabet and Camarine stadiums remain the only refuge for athletes who are now putting pressure on the county government to come to their rescue.
Hali yetu ya county ya Bwana Jackson Mandago atufanyie tu favor moja hapa Uasin Gishu, watuundie kiwanja.
Worst case scenario, we shall ask national government, Ministry of Sports and the contractor to forget our property.
As a ministry, we made a decision, and a very strong decision at that we are going to put what it takes to complete Kipchoge Keino Stadium.
For now, the Kipchoge Keino Stadium in Eldoret remains closed and unusable, with the farmers from the larger Uasin Gishu County benefiting from it as they use it as a drying yard for their farm products. Lynn Washura, KTN.
All right, to matters golf now. 22 Kenyan golfers will take part in this year's edition of the Barclays Kenya Open Golf Tournament, set to tee off at the current country and golf club next month. Registration is still on, even as the organizers welcome soft drink manufacturer Coca-Cola Company as one of its sponsors. The 44th Kenya Open tees off on 6th of March and ends 3 days later at the current golf club. Competitors from more than 20 countries are expected to take part in the Premier Golf Tournament, one of the European Tour events. True Pro-Am events will precede the main competition. The Pro-Am allows amateur golfers to play alongside professionals for purposes of gaining more ground. Kenya will once again be depending on Dismas Sindiza, who has been consistent in the tournament over the years, though he is yet to win the coveted prize. Amateurs in the team include schoolboy Daniel Nduva, John Karichu, Vetlab's Nelson Simwa, who won the Kenya Match Play title last year, Tony Omuli of Gold Park, the runner-up of Go TV tournament, Robinson Owiti, and Justus Madoya of Great Rift Valley. Coca-Cola Company became the latest to splash cash to the organizers of the donation of 8.6 million shillings.
We have revamped our sponsorship with a full repertoire of beverages befitting the cash sponsorship of 8.6 million shillings this year. We, however, retain our platinum sponsorship position, which is just a tier below the title sponsors, and therefore become the official soft drink of a Barclays Kenya Open 2014.
This is the 5th year that Coca-Cola has continuously sponsored the Kenya Open.
Spain's Jordi Garcia Pinto won last year's edition. No Kenyan has ever won the Kenya Open, but Peter Livingston was the best placed local in position 3 in 1994. To matters soccer now. Mouth-watering Kenya Premier League matches are on the menu this weekend, and Mombasa will host 2 matches. A lot more reason to be out of town on Sunday afternoon. 3 former champions, the reigning champions and Kenya CAF Confederations Cup representatives will all be in action this weekend on week 2 of the 2014 season. Leaders Sofapaka, who have adopted Machakos as the home ground, play Sony Sugar and Gor Mahia respectively. Nyayo Stadium too will host 2 matches tomorrow. Debutants top friend Nakuru will be seeking the first league points where they host Thika United. That match will pave way for the clash between Tusker and Western Steamer. Western Steamer, now second to Sofapaka on goal difference, could climb on top should they electrocute Tusker FC. Now, 2-time world marathon champion Abel Kirui will lead Kenya's onslaught in this year's Tokyo Marathon, the first stop of the 6th World Marathon Major Series. Lucy Kabu will be one of the only Kenyan women marathoners. Kirui has been out of the competition for the last 2 years due to injury, but has announced his readiness for the race set early on Sunday morning. Kirui is not new in Japan. His last race was way back in 2008 when he failed to finish. He has other 5 Kenyans for company and motivation. Sami Kitwara, Peter Some, Sami Kipiego and Geoffrey Kipsang are the other key Kenyans. Kitwara starts as favorite as his best time stands at 2 hours, 5 minutes and 16 minutes. He set in Chicago last August when he finished 3rd. Peter Some won in Paris last year. Former IAAF World Cross Country champion Geoffrey Kipsang is the youngest of the lineup. That's it for sports. I'm Nicholas Mudima. Have yourself a good night.
KTN weather forecast in association with Mortein Doom Cockroach Killer.
From sports to our news ender tonight, and thousands of scouts and girl guides are trooping to Nyeri for the commemoration of the founder of the Scouts movement, Baden-Powell. As KTN's Carol Nderi tells us, the annual activity promises to be a tourist attraction of its own. Well, here's the story.
It is once again that time of the year when Nyeri town plays host to thousands of visitors who flock to this town in anticipation of the Founders' Day to commemorate the founder of the Scouts and Girl Guides movement, the Lord Baden-Powell, a movement that boasts of 28 million followers globally, 500,000 of them right here in Kenya.
This is the only grave that is most visited. In fact, I would say is the third most visited in the world.
His grave here serving as a major tourist attraction. He was buried here in 1941, overlooking the scenic Mount Kenya, his choice of a burial spot. His wife, Olive Powell, also chose the same site, and her ashes were flown from the United Kingdom to Nyeri in 1977.
They found that Nyeri is very beautiful and they liked the country, so they decided that even when they die, they be buried here.
Last-minute preparations such as fumigating the area where the campus tents will be pitched and sprucing up the area were underway. It is here that we meet up with 77-year-old Faras Mbao, a girl guide who committed herself to the movement in 1948 when she was in Standard 3 and at one point served as an assistant commissioner. She knew Olive Powell personally.
Alikuwa kinyenyekea kwa kila kitu, was very humble, could meet everybody.
Irene Mwangi, the project's manager in charge of Central Kenya, names a few prominent individuals who were girl guides in a bid to highlight just how the movement sharpens leadership skills.
I'm a girl guide tangu zamani. Kuna Dr. Julia Ojiambo. Kuna Lady Justice Joyce Alwach. Kuna kati alikuwa patron wa girl guide. Kuna Mama Gina Kenyatta. She has been the patron of girl guides.
The night travel ban will possibly affect the turnout this year, and some will hold parallel events in other counties.
This year we are expecting between around 5,000 to 7,000 scouts for this year, because there is some other counties which are holding the same event in their country, in their county. So the number has already reduced because there is what we call the travel ban. So it's very expensive for some schools or some scouts to travel maybe for 2 days, and they're still coming for this event. So there's some county or some county commissioner, scout commissioner, they decided to come together maybe like from the side of the Western, although we still have a team that is coming from Western, which is bringing some scouts, but they have been taking maybe almost 2 days to come so that they don't have to travel at night.
There have been calls to make this venture a success as it will boost tourism since many travel from all corners of the world to visit the grave. Carol Nderi for KTN at the Baden-Powell grounds in Nyeri County.
Right, we're just about to wind up this edition of KTN Friday Briefing, but before then, let's have our results of the big question tonight. And we had asked you, is it right for the president to support the MPs against the judiciary? Is it right for the president to support the MPs against the judiciary? And there you have it on your screens, the no. 53% say no and 47% said yes. Thank you very much for texting us on the big question tonight. Right, so we are back with the lovely ladies or queens of volleyball. Guys, it was great having you. Experience yako ilikuwaje, Washu? Chansonge hapa nyuma kidogo.
Imekuwa ngumu kiasi.
Why? By the way, what wanasema mmefanya, you've really done yourselves. You're actually, you can be polished to be anchors.
Really?
You don't think?
I don't think
Pango
so.
Si pink. Washu, hii maneno utaki.
Hii maneno siwezi taka.
Wanja?
Mimi nimeenjoy.
Umeenjoy? Yeah, Wanja ameenjoy. Ameenjoy.
Sasa sijaenjoy, nimeenjoy yes, but siwezi taka.
Anajifanya tu. Sasa let's talk about mkiplay. So let me play. Do you get the match like crowds? Watu wanakuja kuwa watch bila na watch games Gor Mahia and all this. Do people come to watch you, and what is it that you want from us on the other side as your supporters?
Si kwa na mafans sana. Sometimes Kasarani inaweza jam mpaka watu wanakatazwa kuingia. But ina depend ni timu gani unacheza nayo. So I'm sure kesho itakuwa
kumejaa.
Yeah.
Hata mimi nitajaribu kukam.
Usijaribu.
Nikam.
Sasa sisi tumepata
enyewe ni challenge. Sawa. And Washu, kesho mna play Tunisia. Mmejitayarishaje? Because now this is big. This is, the gateway to go, to the World Cup. Mmejitayarishaje? Na Jose mnafaa kwa bidhe mmelala.
Ni timu ngumu, yes. But si ati ni mara ya kwanza tukiwatandika. Na kitu yenye najua,
natandikanga watu sana.
Yeah, kitu yenye najua tuwaogopi hata kidogo. Kwanza tukiwa home na mafans wakiwa. Sidhani kama hata
So what tutokeleze?
Mimi naomba tu mafans wakam kutusupport
kwa wingi.
Tutokeleze kwa wingi. All right, thank you so much guys. It was great having you.
Thank you.
And tomorrow the game is at Kasarani?
Yes, at 4.
At Kasarani, 4 p.m. Please come out. Let's support our volleyball team. They're playing against Tunisia. If they beat Tunisia, they will be able to proceed to the World Cup in Italy?
Yes,
Italy.
But you shouldn't say if.
You know what? When they defeat Tunisia, but we have so much pride in you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm Betty Carlos. Thank you very much for watching Friday Briefing. See you again next Friday. And you are?
Janet Wanja.
Jen Washu.
All right. Good night, guys.